Dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank to the organizers that they enabled also the industry to present their opinion, but also the running problems or running issues in HVAC. My background is I'm an environmental responsible for Daikin Central Europe. Daikin is a producer of HVAC products. So I would like to point out the use of R32 or HFC 32 in HVAC and equipment. At the moment, the pressure of the European regulations, also the pressure from the awareness that we have to reduce global warming potential products and to contribute to mitigation of the climate issues we have at the moment. So also industry is thinking how to contribute in this way. So I would like to give you a perspective of chosen refrigerant R32, and I would like to give you a certain overview how the industry sees the use of this refrigerant. So don't mind me repeating a bit what is most probably well known. What is HFC 32? So it's hydrofluorocarbon. It's newer as a single component refrigerant in use, but it's well known for years now as a part of the R410A, as a 50% of R410A. At the moment, we can say that without problem it's being used and it's been produced all over the world and is running without issues millions of air conditioners already. And it's SNAP approved even in US. So I think it's worthwhile thinking about R32. So basic differences, R32 has no ozone depleting potential, has a lower global warming potential than the wide used refrigerants at the moment, and flammability is a bit different. I would like to also focus this a bit later. Key benefits, as I mentioned, lower global warming potential, no ozone depleting potential. So lower, for example, in a wide use refrigerant R410A, the difference is 1/3. So we can use more or less charge in the units of the refrigerant. So it increases efficiency, but it's up to the design. It's easier to charge, recover, reclaim, and it's easier then to fill it in again, because it's a single component refrigerant, it's not a blend. And it is safe to use, although it's flammable, because of the low flammability, which is according to new voltage standards, ISO 817 and ENORM EN 378. So if we calculate the contribution of shortly using of R32, for example, instead of R410A, if you take that we have 1/3 of global warming potential, that the charge is about 30% less in the unit, then complete global impact is about 75%. Global warming impact is about 75% lower than present air conditioning fluid, which is R410A. And it is important to think, as an industry, we also would like to contribute, and we would like to act now. Main differences, so also to show according to comparison to R410A and R22. So the first difference in flammability, it's flammable fluid, it's flammable refrigerant, but it's slightly flammable according to new classification. And as we speak, there is a voting on regulation, which I will also refer a bit later on. Operating pressure, the transition from R22 to R410A we already see. So it is, the pressures are higher. The difference between R32 and R410A is almost negligible. So we talk about high pressures, but the industry is still already used to this kind of pressures. The discharge temperature is a bit higher, so we have to be careful on this one, but only in very extreme and very low ambient heating conditions, then we have to take care and control discharge temperature. For example, by wet suction control. As in use of the oil, already now the oils which are used for R410A and R32 are the same. If you're coming to the, for example, the older R410A installations, then we have to be careful not to use the same oil, but I think this would not come to a problem if you come to execution of any project. Toxicity classification of R32 according to ISO 817 and as well also ENORM 378 as A, so low toxic. So even in comparison with R410A and R32, also low toxic refrigerant, even in this case R32 shows a small benefit because much more is needed to means the high value is safer as we talk about this classification. The biggest issue is the safety with flammability, which at the moment as we speak, the IEC 60335-240 is being voted at the moment in the world, and this should bring the relaxations and should bring the, according to the industry opinion, the right positioning of R32, because also ISO 817 EN 378, so valuable with general standards, also confirmed that there is a difference in the classification between low flammable materials and fluids and the flammable and high flammable ones. So the new classification 2L has been already introduced, and the industry I'm coming from expects and believes that it will continue also with the product standards which are being voted at the moment. Some practical guidelines, what is to see what is the difference, for example, how to handle in the real world the R32 refrigerant products. So it is required to have, for example, in the van, permanent ventilation. Why is this? Because R32 is heavier than air and it piles up from the bottom of the van, and so the van ventilation, for example, should be at the bottom of the van. Of course, to avoid any fire source and hot surfaces, though hot surface would be very hard to find in the real life. Follow the instructions for the transport of the cylinders and products, because every producer of air equipment is issuing the manuals, so this is also extremely important, not only for R32. And if you talk about generally about the ventilation, also our installers, this is not a novelty for them, because they already use this, they have it because of the acetylene product which they have for the brazing. As a new standard, 60335-240, and the present 5th edition is mentioning no limitation for the charges and the equipment below 1.23 kilograms. I will not go through the formula, but if you can see on the graph that for the floor standing units, because of the R32 is heavier than air, there are a bit different regulations. What we expect in the 6th edition, also as it is in ENORM and ISO already there, we expect the relaxation on this point, because there is a difference again between refrigerants with high toxicity and low toxicity. So we hope and we believe this will be done. But it's also important to mention that these new relaxations, which will bring also possibility that the industry is developing the new product and also develop eventually also the new refrigerants in the future, which will be more effective and of course more environmentally friendly. So for the refrigerant piping, just to make the comparison with existing refrigerants on the markets are commonly used, there is actually no difference. The installation should be done as it's done now, it should be dry, clean and high temperature. So for the brazing in the installation, as all HFCs and HCFCs, the regulations or the guidelines is the same. So on the high temperatures, it develops toxic elements. So in order to avoid this, the installation should be purged with nitrogen while brazing. And then, as we did with R32, R22 and R14A, and there is then no risk for the human health. As already mentioned a bit, and the first part, the pressure